get off the sidelines. Time to get in the game.
Hey, welcome back to the Triple Play Performance Podcast. This is Dr. Mike. If this is your first time listening, I wanted to welcome you and I wanted to give you a little bit of insight of what we do on this podcast. So, in this podcast, we're trying to give you the best and easiest to understand information relating to your health and some actionable tips that you can use as well. So, if you like what you hear in this podcast, please consider subscribing. All right, let's jump right into today's episode. Today's episode is going to answer some questions that I've been getting from the audience. And one of the most common questions that doesn't necessarily relate to a specific health topic in and of itself, but was asked, hey, Doc, what are some of the products that you recommend, some of the products that you use? So that's what we're going to dive in today. So I've also created a PDF worksheet so that you guys can download that and you guys can have it for reference so that you guys can see these top 10 products that I do recommend. And there will be links in that PDF and also on the show notes as well so that you guys can check those out and maybe use them for yourself. All right, product number one that I use on an everyday basis is molecular hydrogen. And if you followed me on social media, if you follow my podcasts, if you follow anything that I say, especially if you're a patient, you know how much I harp on the use of molecular hydrogen. And it's been getting more popularized over the last year or so. I've seen a lot of more people talking about molecular hydrogen and a lot more people using it. And there's companies that are coming out and really commercializing it and bringing it to the public's awareness. Now, you may not be familiar with molecular hydrogen. You may be asking some questions. I'm going to give you a really brief rundown of what it is. So basically, molecular hydrogen is what's called a selective antioxidant. So you may be familiar with antioxidants like vitamin C, glutathione. Those are the things that curb free radicals in your body. So any type of oxidative damage, and we know oxidative damage is like rust. So there was a big antioxidant movement in the late 90s, early 2000s. And people started to understand the need for antioxidants. But the problem became that people actually started taking too many antioxidants, and you actually still need some reactive oxidative species like nitric oxide, and your immune system actually uses reactive oxidative species to combat any type of pathogen. So when you're taking too much, you actually may hinder those good reactive oxidative species. Okay, so you don't want to do those. You don't want to do those things, right? So here comes molecular hydrogen, and this has been researched. I want to say since the early 70s. Don't quote me on that, but the research that I've been reading goes back to the early 70s out in Korea, Japan, in China. They started using molecular hydrogen to see its effects upon the body. And what they found was that because of its small size, it can actually diffuse all the way through the cellular membrane, all the way to the nucleus and into the DNA, and then curb specific free radicals. And it's a selective antioxidant, meaning that it leaves the good oxidants, it leaves those alone, and it only goes after the bad ones. So it's almost like a miracle pill, right? It only takes care of the bad stuff while leaving the good stuff there. So there's two forms that most of my patients will use, either the tablet or they'll actually breathe it in. They'll breathe in hydrogen gas. Those are the two main routes. So there are specific machines that you can actually get to make molecular hydrogen, and you can use those machines to breathe it in or infuse your water, or you can use tablets, and the tablets will infuse the water as well. There are a bunch of molecular hydrogen manufacturers on the market. I've only really used 3 to 4 of them. And the most common question I get is, well, should I get the machine or should I get the tablets? If you're going to be drinking the water, I actually like tablets better. Um, the machines, I like it better if you're going to breathe it. So And machines it costs more upfront to get a machine, anywhere upwards of about $2,000 to $5,000. So if you don't have that kind of cash lying around, then you may just want to get in the tablets. Most tablets, they come in 60 bottle counts, and they run about $55 to $60 for that. Now, the best use of it would be one tablet dissolved in about room temperature water, and take that in the mornings and in the evenings. And there's other ways that you can take it. Some people, depending upon your health condition, will be taking it, or will be taking maybe upwards 4 to 6 tablets a day. There's a lot of research, and you guys can dig into it, and I'll put some links in the show notes. Um, but there's a lot of research that shows its efficacy around kidney disease, diabetes, any type of neurodegenerative diseases. And that's one of the things that we use in the office for neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, um, and also helping gut health. And it's a whole myriad of things. And there's you guys can dig into the research. But yeah, that's my number one product. All right, my number two product is a product called Alkalite, and this is a relatively new product. It's a product that helps to rebalance your body's pH levels. And when I first saw this product, I kind of brushed it off as being like another one of those kind of gimmicks. And then the more I dug into the research, and the more that I used it from a clinical perspective, I started seeing how amazing it can be to actually help balance out the pH levels. And we're not talking about like blood pH levels. You see a lot of people talking about that, but you can't alter blood pH levels. We're talking about affecting the extracellular. So all the stuff that's surrounding your cells, like the ocean that surrounds your cells, that's the pH we want to influence. Okay, and we're not changing like radical changes. We're looking more at the atomic level. Okay, we're looking more at electron transfer. Same thing like we just talked about molecular hydrogen. Okay, so everything that we're talking about in health is all about a delivery of electrons to the body. So what alkali does is it delivers more electrons to your system to curb the acidic compounds. And acidic compounds is basically a bunch of protons. So when you put an electron and a proton together, it neutralizes, and that's the whole goal of Alkalite. So you guys can check out the show notes, and start taking it, and you guys can get the there's a recommended dose on there. But if you have questions, just send me a message, and then I can help you to work out what you would need to be taking, when and how. Number three is exogenous ketones. Um, I've been researching ketones, or the use of exogenous ketones for the last probably about 6 years. And when exogenous ketones first came out, it cost about $32,000 for a single dosage. And what they started using it for was Navy SEAL divers that was experiencing epileptic seizures when they were deep diving due to a lack of oxygen. And then they mistakenly found a correlation for epileptic seizure patients, and they started to implement the ketogenic diet. And that's essentially where the ketogenic diet was developed and was used for, and it was very successful. What they found was that the whole goal of the ketogenic diet was to develop ketones in the body. And there's three different types of ketones that your body develops from the breakdown of fat. And then your brain actually will utilize, your brain, your heart, and different tissues, especially the brain and the heart, will utilize specific types of ketones as a cleaner burning fuel. Okay, so there's two types of fuel that your body uses. One is glucose, and the other one is ketone bodies. And people started to realize, especially researchers, of how effective these exogenous ketones were for your health. And that's when they started developing these exogenous ketones. They found that they could use what's called ketone esters and influence the body's state of ketosis. Problem was that the first exogenous ketones, these ketone esters, tasted like jet fuel and they cost $32,000. So the general public being able to utilize it was next to zero. And then over the years, as more research was done and development, they saw that they could use another form of exogenous ketones called a ketone salt. And um, many researchers had a hand in this, and then they got into a debate and which one is better, right? The ketone ester, the ketone salts, and you guys can read you guys can read the research on that, and these guys go back and forth on it. But at the end of the day, it's what does the clinical research say on the efficacy of these ketones, right? So there's still some controversy surrounding that. Um, but ketones in and of itself will help your brain to function better, right? And if as a chiropractic physician, I'm very adamant about the nervous system and optimizing your nervous system. And if you don't have a highly functioning brain, the rest of your body is going to be poorly functioning. So you got to get that going well if you want to experience the rest of your body going well. And that's why I utilize things like exogenous ketones. And you may have also heard me talk about nootropics earlier. And if you follow me on social media, I talk about nootropics. Exogenous ketones is a type of nootropic that actually helps your brain to function properly. So you guys can look in the show notes for the different types of ketones that I do recommend. There's a few different types. And this, in my opinion, is an easier way for people to experience ketosis rather than utilizing the ketogenic diet, because I think most people, when they try to induce ketosis through a ketogenic diet, they do it improperly. So this is an easier step to transition into that. And for some people, the side effect is weight loss, but that's not the overall goal of it. It's increasing body function. All right, my number four product. Number four product has to be filters. Hey, you guys have heard me talk about this before. If you live in an area that has a lot of air pollution and water pollution, you need to be using some type of filtration system, because if you don't, then your body becomes the filtration system. Your lungs become the filter for the airs, and your liver and your kidneys and your skin becomes the filter for the water. And if you look there's a website called ewg.org. So ewg.org, and you can look at the water quality in your community, and you'll see some amazing results come up, and may freak you out a little bit. So water filtration is highly imperative, especially if you live in high metropolitan areas like LA, New York, Atlanta, Chicago. Those have high amounts of arsenic and other types of heavy metals, and different types of um, uh, carbon-based toxins, VOCs, all those different types of pesticides that come from the runoff, right? So you got to be filtering that, and air pollution is a really big one. LA, Salt Lake City is really big. New York, Boston, you guys have huge amounts of air pollution. If you live in Asia, in Beijing I think is like one of the most polluted areas in the world. You see people walking around with masks all day long. So getting some type of air filtration is very important. So there's a bunch of different water filtration units. Some people are familiar with like the Berkey water filter. In my opinion, it does a little bit better than most of the commercial available ones that you can find at like Target or Walmart. It's a step above that. It's not the best by no means, but it is the most economical, and it does its job. There are some controversial studies that says that it doesn't do what it's claim, and I've seen some of those studies, especially saying that, or it claims that it blocks out like 90% of fluoride, but some of the research came back saying that it really doesn't. So take that with a grain of salt. But you got other whole house water filtration units like RO units, which those can cost anywhere from 5 to 10 to $15,000, depending upon how big of a system you need and the type of water that needs to be filtered. So um, I don't have a really uh, concrete recommendation as far as a home water filtration unit. Just check around with your local water filtration suppliers. And then for an air filter, there's you can get really expensive ones, like Molecule is the one that is fairly popular. They have a lot of information on their social media channels. But you can just go down to like Target or Walmart and get one, that has just like a general HEPA filter that will filter out your air. I mean, something is better than nothing if you live in a highly polluted area, especially if you live in an area that's prone to high humidity. You are probably being exposed to a lot of molds. If you had a water leakage in your house, that I have a lot of patients where they have chronic lung issues, and we check their walls, and they have huge amounts of mold being built up there. Some people have mold built up in their air conditioning units in their homes. So having an air filtration unit will help a lot with that. So you don't need to go crazy with the types of it. I am not a fan of the air filtration units that do have UV in it. The test that came back with those types of air filtration units, it wasn't that positive. So I would stay away from the ones that have the UV in it and just get the ones that have the HEPA filters. And some of them have like a 3 to 4 stage. There's a HEPA filter, carbon filter. So you want to stay with those, and they often cost less than the ones that do have the UV in it. All right, number 5 is blue blocking glasses. You may have seen me wearing these, and with the amount of blue light that we're being exposed to, especially youth, or especially those that are working in an office all day long, you're being exposed to aberrant amounts of blue light at the wrong times of the day. Blue light is more prevalent during mid parts of the day, and not in the evenings. Morning and evenings is more prevalence of red light. So those on the infrared red spectrum. And using blue light blocking glasses, I mean, there's tons of them on the market. Some cost 300-400 bucks. Those are the designer ones. I've actually worked a discount deal for the ones that we use in the office, and it's by Spectrum 438, I think that was their name. Don't quote me on that, but I'll put the link in the show notes. But when you use the link in the show notes and you use the code triple play doc, you'll be able to get 15% off of those glasses, and you can actually look on their website and actually test your glasses. There's a chart on there that you can look at your glasses, and it will be able to show you if it's actually blocking that spectrum of the blue light spectrum completely. It's a pretty cool little chart. So yeah, blue light blocking glasses is number 5. All right, number 6 is a red light therapy unit. Um, there's so many different uses of red light therapy. I've used red light therapy from day one that I started in practice, and it's been my go-to tool for almost every single thing. And especially if you have skin issues, pain issues, all of that stuff, red light therapy has been proven to help upregulate certain things in your body to deliver more oxygen, deliver more nutrients, and then also help speed up healing by increasing collagen production. And for you women out there that just heard collagen, yes, this does help with fine lines and wrinkles. There's like a unit out there called a Saluma that is targeted directly towards that. Um, the ones we use in the office is called a Juve. You may have seen me post videos about the Juve, and this is one of my favorite things to use for initial therapies, especially for pain management and to increase range of motion in joints. So, utilizing a red light therapy unit is fairly simple. You just turn it on and shine it on the area, 8 to 12 minutes per area. Um, and your body will receive the benefits from that. So you guys can look in the show notes and look at the different units that I recommend. Juve actually just came out with, I think it's called a Juve Go. It's a smaller portable unit. Most of the Juves are bigger, heavier, and they need a power source to be plugged into. The Juve Go is, I think there's an internal battery, it's a rechargeable battery, so you can take that, especially if you're traveling, and you can utilize that. Um, One of my favorite things to do is I'll combine some of these things. So, like molecular hydrogen alkylate, I'll take that at the end of the day, and then we'll use the Juve red light. And what that does is that actually helps your body to trigger a release of melatonin. So, utilizing that stack combo will help a lot with that. There's a lot of tips and tricks that you guys can do with this list that I'm recommending. So red light therapy is number 6, and we use the Juve. Number 7, you guys know how much I harp on digestive health. Number 7 is digestive enzymes. If you're not breaking down your food properly, you're not going to be absorbing it properly. So utilizing digestive enzymes is going to really help in your digestive health. One, because as you age, you start making less digestive enzymes and you don't break down food properly. And if you're not breaking down food properly, you will cause irritation in your gastrointestinal system, and then you'll also not be getting the nutrients and full spectrum of the foods that you're eating. So digestive enzymes starts to help in that aspect. Now the other aspect, and I'll talk about this in another podcast episode as well, is that it also helps with inflammation. So if you take digestive enzymes on an empty stomach, it'll help with inflammation, curbing that inflammatory response, because proteolytic enzymes will go through your circulation and then look for any type of protein fragments that are frayed, and it'll eat them up. So it's kind of like if you have like a frayed rope, it'll go and eat those ends up, and that's essentially what's causing the proliferation of inflammation in your body. So taking digestive enzymes on an empty stomach helps with a lot of that. There's a bunch of different digestive enzymes. I recommend getting a broad spectrum one. Look for an enzyme that has at least amylase, lipase, and protease, so that you can at least break down proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Um, and there's other blends that have additional types of enzymes. I mean, those help with breaking down like plant proteins and plant cellulose and all of that stuff. But if you're getting an enzyme that has just those three of protease, amylase, and lipase, you pretty much got your bases covered. You don't have to dive deeper into that if you don't want to. Um, there are foods that can actually help you to increase digestion as well. So there's things like papaya and pineapples, which have bromelain and papain. There's, you know, things that will, like apple cider vinegar, which will increase the amount of hydrochloric acid content in your stomach as well. But if you have more questions and you want to dive deeper into improving and increasing your gut's capacity, think about getting my course, the Total Gut Restore program, because we dive deeper into healing your gut and making your gut way more efficient. And we also talk more about the use of digestive enzymes and how you can utilize that to optimize your health. All right, number 8 are a few apps that I recommend, and these are apps that I utilize on a daily basis. So the first one is NatureBeat, and this one monitors your heart rate variability. And without getting too deep into heart rate variability, this is basically a measure of your current state of stress. So this is measuring the difference between your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, to see your state of stress. And the cool thing about NatureBeat, you hook it up to a heart rate monitor, and it will analyze that, and it'll basically tell you on a color coded chart if you're stressed or if you're relaxed. Really, really simple to use. So Nature Beat, and you can go and download that. I think it's a $10 app, worth every penny. You should utilize that every day. The next app is Seven. Seven is an app. It's a free app, and it's a 7-minute workout. So those of you who are complaining that you don't have time to exercise, if you got 7 minutes, you can do this full body exercise regimen. You just download the app, press start, and then it'll take you through a guided workout regimen in the course of 7 minutes. Very easy to use. And then the next app that I like is called Sleep Tracker. And what Sleep Tracker does is exactly what it says. It tracks your sleep. So it'll tell you the quality of your sleep. Very, very important. And it's an interesting thing once you set it up and you start utilizing it, and you'll be able to see exactly the quality of the type of sleep that you get. So NatureBeat 7 and Sleep Tracker are my go-tos on a daily basis. Number 9 is an answer to another common question that I get is what types of non-toxic skincare do you recommend? There's been a bunch on the market, and lately I've run into a company called Yellowbird, and one of these days I'll actually get Nicole. She's the founder and owner of the company. I'm gonna get her on the show and talk about her company. I did an Instagram live video with her, and we talked about how toxins in the skincare are affecting your body. And the company that she's created is like an all natural skincare company. They utilize all natural ingredients in their skincare products. And then the cool thing is that they infuse it with different types of essential oils. Very, very interesting combinations that they have. So that's one of my recommendations for non-toxic skincare. Go to Yellowbird Company, and I'll have the link in the show notes. You can also follow them on Instagram. I'll put a link to their Instagram profile so you guys can see them. And like I said, one day we'll get Nicole on the show, and we'll be talking about these non-toxic skincare products. It's pretty cool stuff. So again, my non-toxic skincare recommendation is from Yellowbird. All right, number 10, and this is a really easy one, is resistance bands. I mean, you can go on Amazon and find any type of resistance bands, but this is something that I do recommend that everybody get, especially if you're traveling. You can still get in some type of exercise regimen using the 7 app and also using the resistance band. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be utilizing these things. So resistance bands is great because it increases resistance as you get towards the end of the range of motion. So unlike lifting free weights, which increases resistance towards the beginning part of the range of motion and decreases resistance towards the end range of motion, resistance bands does the exact opposite. Now you can couple resistance bands with free weights and get the benefits of both worlds. So you get increased resistance at the beginning and increased resistance towards the end. So this is another hack that you can use. Some people, what they do as well, I'm giving away all my secrets now, is they utilize resistance bands, free weights, and Juve at the same time. And then also before working out, using exogenous ketones, going into a fasted workout. And then their recovery, guys, they use molecular hydrogen, alkylate, and digestive enzymes to recover properly. And then they monitor their sleep with the Sleep Tracker app, and they monitor the recovery in the morning with NatureBeat. So you guys see how all of these things that I just recommended can be utilized. So number 10 is resistance bands. I mean, you can get any resistance bands. Just go on Amazon, and there's a whole bunch of different ones. I mean, you can get resistance band programs like the X3 bar. I think that one costs like $600. But the research that really supports in it, and it supports the cost of it. I mean, you look at the amount of time that you would spend traveling to and from a gym, the amount that you would spend on equipment, the amount that you would spend on membership fees and all that kind of stuff. So it does equate. But yeah, resistance bands, there's a whole bunch of different types, but if you're on a budget, just get any old type resistance bands. If you really want to get into it, the X3 bar looks really amazing. I don't have an X3 bar. I'm actually still looking into it. And we will definitely be investing in one of those soon. Wow, that was my top 10 list. I mean, there are others, don't get me wrong, there are others that I do utilize, but I can say without a doubt that these are the top 10 products that I recommend and I personally use on a daily basis. Um, if you become a member of our Wellness Warrior tribe, I deeper dive into the lists of the different products that I do use on a not so much on a daily basis, but I do utilize on an every other day or maybe a weekly thing. So we have started our Wellness Warrior Tribe. It's a membership community, and as a listener of the podcast, we invite you to become part of our tribe. You can go over to the Wellness Warrior Tribe. I'll put a link in the show notes where you can take a look at what we're doing in the tribe. And what's really cool about it is once a month, I jump on and I deep dive into a specific health topic. So we'll talk about like anxiety or hormones or pregnancy, diabetes, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about that and I'll give some actionable tips that you can utilize for it. So it's like a once a month mini course that you'll be getting in that. Then you'll also get a PDF worksheet that has a bunch of different health tips. Different types of my wife's a feng shui consultant, so we will give different types of feng shui tips to help your environment. That'll increase your health. And then mind body things like affirmations, yoga poses, different types of ayurvedic tidbits. And then another week, we'll give you a PDF of one of my favorite recipes that you guys can utilize, and also a supplement of the month. I'll dive deeper into the supplement of the month. And then another cool thing that we're doing in the membership is what's called our laser coaching session. So some of you have asked me questions, and can't necessarily dive deeper into a medically related answer. But what we do in the laser coaching sessions is I take a person and for 15 minutes, we deep dive into your health issue, and then we ask questions about your specific problem. We're looking and we're digging deeper as if you were a consulting client of mine, and we dig deeper and we create a little game plan of where you would be starting. So I'd figure out what's going on, and then I'd point you in the direction that you need to be going in the course of 15 minutes. And what we do is we record that and we make it available for the community to learn from, because I can guarantee you that there are many people that are going through the same thing. And then through that, we also have a community. We have two communities. One's actually on the platform, and another one's we have a private Facebook group that we talk about things and we share, and we basically are just as a community trying to get and live at our optimal state. And that's the whole goal of what we are trying to do. Now, on top of that, there's my course called the Foundations of Health, and in and of itself, that course is the foundational things that I do with every single patient to set them up for their health program, whatever health program I do put them on. This is the foundational thing that's also included, and that's where I start off every single member on the membership. So once you become a member, you go through this training to set yourself up. And then I also will have a list of trusted, health partners. People have been asking, hey, do you know a practitioner out in Austin, Texas? Do you know a practitioner out in Atlanta, Georgia? And what I'm starting to do is compile a database of all these trusted partners where if you need to go out and get a hands-on treatment from somebody, you'll be able to look up and find somebody in your area. The other thing cool about the membership site is that there's a search function. So say you have a question about digestion or indigestion or irritable bowel syndrome, you can actually just go in the search bar, type in irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, and what it'll do is it'll pop up every single discussion about that. It's very, very, very cool thing that we've been working on. And the cool thing about it, it's a growing entity in and of itself, because the more that you guys contribute to it, the more information that we compile in there. This has been a dream of mine to create, and go get it now. Go to the show notes and get the link and become a member of our Wellness Warrior tribe. Again, I want to thank you for listening to this entire podcast episode. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you again for listening. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, and if you feel like doing so, give me a shout out on and tell me, like, on Instagram, and tag me at Triple Play Doc, and tell me what was the biggest thing, your biggest takeaway from this episode. Which of the 10 products are you going to start utilizing today? If you have questions, you can always ask me. You can direct message me on Instagram. That's usually the best way to get in touch with me. Direct message me on Instagram. But again, I want to thank you guys for listening and becoming part of this community. And as we strive towards optimal health and wellness, again, this is Dr. Mike from the Triple Play Performance Podcast saying be well and aloha. Hey, if you've enjoyed this podcast, leave us a 5-star review. Connect with me on Instagram at Triple Play Doc. Stay tuned for more episodes. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the entire world. Till the next episode, be well and aloha.